Seeing no comments, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. The minutes from the August 8th meeting were not ready, so we'll hold those over to the October meeting. Moving on to old business. Oh, let's go back to announcements. We have two new people here, one appointed, one a staff member. If I might impose on you to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Sean Bowker and I work at FMC for the trauma department. My job is primarily injury prevention and outreach. So I look at data to determine what are the biggest causes of injury in our center. And then I have to try and devise ways to prevent those injuries from occurring. I've lived in Flagstaff since probably 2003, I think. My kids were born here. They go to school here. My husband works for the school district, so we're pretty well ensconced. And that's it. That's all there is to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And one other member on staff, Sergeant Rube, will be joining us, and Bike Advisory Committee also.
Yes.
If you want to just give a quick introduction for yourself.
My name is Kevin Rube. I've been with the City of Flagstaff Police Department for 20 years. I'm currently the sergeant over the Traffic Enforcement Division. And yeah, I'm here to kind of see what you guys are about and learn a little bit about the committee and hopefully be able to take some things back to our department to help you guys out.
Great.
Looks like someone raised their hand online too, Martin.
I see that. So we'll go from announcements back to public comment. Hi, Karen.
Well, hello there. Apologies. I was waiting to be admitted to the meeting. So now I'm here and I do have a can I go ahead and deliver my public comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, I am Karen Malice Clark, a longtime resident of Flagstaff, and I am here today representing the Friends of Jack Welch. And this is just a for information piece here. Wanted to let the Pedestrian Advisory Committee be aware that we have submitted a petition to City Council proposing that the Rio de Flag Bridge in Picture Canyon, Natural and Cultural Preserved, be named the Jack Welch Memorial Bridge. This proposal will go through the Open Spaces Commission, but we thought the PAC would like to know about this. The petition is on the City Council agenda for October 1st. Funding to provide a memorial plaque is already secured through private donations. And then in addition to this position, an application to fund artwork on the bridge will be submitted through the city's beautification and action grant process. And that probably will not happen until the March grant cycle for that funding. And we previously, we being the Friends of Jack Welch, we worked with the City Parks Memorial Bench Program to have a plaque in Jack's memory installed last May on an existing bench at Francis Short Pond. And that's all.
Thank you, Karen, so much for sharing that information. We remember Jack fondly, of course, in part because he literally started the Pedestrian Advisory Committee in the mid-2000s. And we are here because of his efforts in that regard. While we're on public comment, any other public comment? We'll open it up one more time. Hearing none, we have looked at the minutes. They weren't ready from the August meeting. So we'll move on to old business. The first item is an update on capital projects. And here I will turn it over to Chris Fair.
Thank you, Martin. Would you mind switching the screens? Before we get started. Great. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Fair, Transportation Planner with the City of Flagstaff. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide updates and review of various large capital projects, which include a significant pedestrian or bicycle facility. I'll provide some primary details about these projects, somewhat briefly, and we can get into discussion of any questions or comments that you may have related to them. All right. First one is the Lone Tree Overpass and Corridor. A lot of different components involved. It has a budget of $105 million and an anticipated construction schedule from FY24 to FY26. The project includes separated bike lanes on both sides of the overpass and roadway, and a foot trail on the west side. It includes a protected intersection at Butler and Lone Tree intersection. And there are planned connections on the south and north to foot trails. The south would connect to NAU campus and the north to the future Schweitzer Canyon foot trail. We also have a couple of cross sections related to what this is going to look like. The top one is how the road will be laid out across the actual overpass, and the lower one is the roadway south of Butler Avenue. And we can flick through these if you guys have questions. We have one more graphic to kind of give you a better overview of the project as a whole. And you can see it'll build this foots trail that'll become the Lone Tree Foots, which is in black.
Quick question.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, somebody talked about they're trying to acquire some land that's got a big gravel yard or something. They made any progress on that? Because I went and looked at it and I was like, man, it's a big piece of land.
Yeah, and what you're referring to is I guess one of the big holdups on the project is trying to relocate a light industrial facility. And
Concrete batch plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize it was there until like.
Yeah. And I guess it's on the city to find them an appropriate place to relocate to. And that is what has been holding the process up. As far as progress, I can't speak to any. Martin, any idea?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Thanks.
Sure. So, yeah, any other questions, comments, please, if you want me to go back to any of the other graphics, let me know. The initial phase of the project is to construct the Lone Tree south of Butler section towards O'Leary. Yeah, and then it should go north from there.
I think they may start on the Lone Tree part of it between Butler and Sawmill because we have
Got the land.
yeah, we're ready for that part, but
Okay.
the overpass itself may have to wait for that to be cleared out. Chris, can you go back to that graphic that shows the foot trails? Just for context, you can see in black is the section of Lone Tree. And at the top of the image, that solid orange line is the Route 66 path. And the dashed line above it is the Schweitzer Canyon Foots, which is planned for construction next summer. And if you get onto the south end, there's a little dashed line that is interrupted that goes off to the left and connects over to the blue, which is the NAU campus. So that's kind of what Chris was talking about in the north and south extensions of it. So we could go across 66 and connect up to the Schweitzer Canyon Trail. If once that's in place, once you're on it, you can go all the way to Buffalo Park, essentially, just by crossing two streets from that point. And then going down south, that's a connection to the NAU campus. So you can imagine between those trails, how that will sort of improve connectivity for people in those neighborhoods and going to campus as well. I will say, going back to the original, when this was originally planned, we had talked to Ped and Bike Advisory Committees about that trail because we were planning off-street bike lanes, which could, sort of replace the function of that trail, but there was an interest in having that trail connect just because of how it connects to other trails in that area and to keep that sort of that link in place between Route 66, possibly Schweitzer Canyon, all the way down to campus, and then a little bit further down that solid orange line is the Sinclair Wash Trail. So in that part of town, it forms a really nice connection between all of those
I
things.
sit right down there.
Do you? Yeah.
Anxiously. Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be good. I especially like this northern connection to, this is Cherry or something?
Terrace.
Terrace, right? And,
Which links into Birch.
right.
Yeah.
You're close to downtown.
North of the.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Roxanne Road 66.
Yeah, it gets you right to where you want to be. And granted, there aren't great pedestrian facilities on this local road, but it's very low volume and a nice way to get down into that side of downtown without having to cross anything, significant at grade.
Yeah, that'll solve the
Yeah.
problem of getting from north of town through downtown south.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Any other comments related to this project? Okay. Next is the Butler Fourth Corridor improvements. This project has a budget of $16.4 million and construction is anticipated between FY 24 and 26. Includes separated bike lanes on the north and south sides of Butler Avenue. Butler Avenue. Two roundabouts will be implemented, one at Harold Ranch Road, and then one further to the east at Butler and Fourth. The one at Harold Ranch is being designed specifically to handle truck traffic, because there's that truck stop, and we run into a decent amount of issues with conflicts with trucks trying to make a left off the south side. So this roundabout will force, ultimately, there's gonna be median islands as well, so trucks will have to make a right out of that truck stop, go around this special roundabout to be able to get back to the interchange. And then, another roundabout at, Butler Fourth. There's also the possibility of a tunnel for a foots trail at Butler and Fourth. And the extent of the project goes from east of the I-40 interchange right to around where those truck stops are, and will extend east to the Sonawa Heights area. So past the Butler Fourth intersection a ways. I think that's it. That's what we have for this
Quick
question.
question. So we looked at different options for that Butler and Fourth. It sounds like the roundabout, that's what's been decided. Is that?
Yes, and I think, in between, what was that last year that we did all that? It seems like it.
Less than a year.
Less than a year. I mean, it was like a few,
It was in the fall.
5 or 6 months.
August, like about a year.
We gave input on the different,
Yeah, there was voting, yeah.
there was voting.
Scoring.
I walked out of here saying I will never vote for another stoplight in Flagstaff, so give me a roundabout.
I remember you storming out. Yeah.
But it's gonna be a roundabout.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And with special pedestrian and cyclist accommodations.
Shorten it up.
Yeah.
So one thing did happen between the time that the committees looked at it and when it went to council is that I think the roundabout that you looked at had 2 lanes plus channelized rights on all legs. And they went back to another designer and kind of tightened that up. And so a lot of the dual lanes, I can't speak to exactly which ones or how many, but some of the dual lanes were reduced to a single lane and some of the channelized rights were eliminated. So it's a smaller roundabout than it was when you saw it, which was, the council was very pleased to see that.
Slow down, right.
Yeah, and then I think, federal guidelines for ADA require us to have additional features at roundabouts. Like I think in this case, it's gonna have rapid flashing beacons at the crossings. Which helps with,
Just visualize
yeah,
something's
yeah,
going on up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
what is the fiscal year for the city?
July 1st to June 30.
Oh,
So are you in FY 25 now?
Correct, yeah. All right, any other comments?
I noticed up four, they've extended that to the south. And it's nice. We were just up there over the weekend. It's got the
To the south, yeah.
south. Yeah, I was like, this is how it should be. Yeah. There's room to expand.
Gotcha.
And you go out to Butler and you're like, oh my God, it's gonna fall apart before the work gets done.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in one of these
Okay.
items. All right, downtown mile safety and connectivity. This is a slew of projects. It has a budget of $117 million. Anticipated construction between FY 25 and 28. The project includes 2 underpasses of the BNSF, one at Florence and Walnut, that you can see towards the left of the image, and one that's downtown and will connect to the parking lot near the Downtown Connection Center. Also includes separated bike lanes through the Milton underpass. And that's a big keystone of the rest of the project, is expanding the railroad underpass that Milton Road goes underneath, adding a third rail and expanding right of way beneath that. I think that we have some more graphics to really exemplify that.
And I think that the Rio to Flag underpass, the one downtown, like, I don't think the trail will just end into the parking lot. It'll
Yeah.
actually go around and end at the intersection of Phoenix.
I just plan to drive there, park, and then I'll take the trail.
And that's the
Public
appropriate
park.
usage, yes. That's-
I'm curious for this one and the Lone Tree Overpass. The Lone Tree Overpass does not depend on a BNSF stoppage, is that correct? That they're gonna have the trains running the whole time that goes by, but for this project, it seems like them being willing to stop the trains for any period of time or for any construction thing is just made the schedules go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We're giving them something they
Yeah.
want here, so maybe it'll happen, or will this actually happen by FY 28, maybe?
That's a good question, and how I understand it, they're not willing to have a stoppage. That's why the third rail is important, because they're gonna construct the third rail first as like a primary step, and then they can continue to route trains through that area, in phases.
Even while yeah,
See on the drawing, there's a red dash line.
yeah,
It's called a shoe fly. So the shoe fly is just a railroad track that bypasses the other two. So trains are routed onto that while the other two are under construction. And then when that part is under construction, you can route it onto one of the original ones. So the shoe fly is just like a detour for a train, a
right.
temporary detour. But in this case, the shoe fly becomes the third track through Flagstaff. So we build it, it becomes permanent, but in the meantime, we can use it as a detour.
Fantastic.
That's what makes the thing work.
I was,
Yeah.
yeah, my hopes that it would work, yeah.
And why it didn't work before, is shoe flies are really, really expensive.
Another key component of this project is redesigning this intersection of Santa Fe and Route 66 and Milton. We have a graphic that is coming up related to that. And also there will be at-grade rail crossing safety improvements here, along Beaver and San Francisco. This is a cross-section of what the road will look like as you approach the Milton underpass. So you can imagine heading north on Milton, coming to the railroad bridge over you. This is what it would look like. Support for the bridge would fall into this 16.5-foot parkway space.
And the bus people will be able to have better access to making their turns on. They seem like they have a lot of difficulty getting in and out of
The Phoenix,
yeah.
on and off of Phoenix.
Still TBD. I think they had argued at ADOT for a traffic signal at that corner, and the answer so far has been no, but that may not be the final answer. They may still be working that out.
They're brave bus drivers.
And here's an example of the intersection redesign. So a pretty radical difference. But it removes this whole leg of the intersection.
So really the same issue that Mountain Line has with access in and out of Phoenix is not dissimilar to pedestrian and bike access. When you think about this stretch of 66, the closest formal crossings that are signalized are Beaver and Butler along that stretch. This doesn't really improve that in that it doesn't introduce any additional crossings, but the two underpasses will help off to either side with getting, ped and bike access across the tracks into and out of downtown.
Yeah, this is one of the downtown underpasses, if you can visualize that. And that'll get you straight across to the downtown connection center. All right, any other comments related to this one? Great. So this is not a discrete project, but this is something that Martin and I wanted to highlight just to sort of guide the development of active transportation through downtown. This map describes the primary network of planned bikeways and the nexus that they form around downtown. We have, so some of them are in place. The Karen Cooper to the north, I'm sure you're familiar with, and the Route 66 Foots Trail to the east. And other components of this square are, we've discussed already, like the underpasses, the downtown connection center, et cetera. And then in previous meetings, we've talked about the Milton Bikeway, and PAC offered a letter of support to, get concept planning for that off the ground through 2 recent grants. That would build the south leg. That project would, create the south leg of this square. And we also discussed the Santa Fe Foots Trail extension, which would create this western Foots Trail. So it really shows like this primary bikeway route system gives a lot of options to navigate through downtown, via active transportation separated from vehicle traffic. Anything to add there, Martin?
Did you mention that bridge over Milton potentially?
Right, the bridge over Milton, which we also was included in recent.
You said this is all active transportation, totally separated from vehicle traffic?
It's a combination. In some cases, it's Foots Trails. In some cases, you're on street. Yeah. I mean, so the purple lines become like a route, which may include different facilities, but it's continuous in the fact that it's one.
Those are all pretty nice streets to be on, so
Yeah.
it's not like it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and for pedestrians versus bicyclists, of course, everyone can use Foots Trails. For bicyclists, we're accommodating travel over longer distances, so people are coming out from other neighborhoods. Pedestrian travel is more localized, but hopefully, underpasses and crossings and bridges and facility and Foots connections improve local connectivity as well. And getting back to that issue of the railroad is really a barrier around on the south side of downtown, in the middle of town, and so improving connectivity across the railroad is kind of significant for any mode of travel, walking or biking in that part of town.
This is just a bigger picture image of that same map, connecting all ends of the city, or attempting to connect all ends of the city. All right. Next project for discussion, the JW Powell Boulevard extension. This project has a budget of $45 million and a planned construction period of FY 25 to 26, subject to change. I would add. The project extends from the existing end of JWP and heads east and ultimately north to connect with the Butler Fourth intersection at that south leg that we were discussing before. We're anticipating ped bike edge improvements throughout the corridor. And there's a number of realignments related to the Arizona Trail that Martin will take us through.
So just to kind of get oriented, this diagonally across here is I-40. And then toward the north end, this is Butler Avenue. Here's the interchange. Here's the other project that Chris talked about at Butler Fourth. So really, we're talking about this whole area south of I-40. And the main road through here is JWP, which connects from where it ends now by Pine Canyon, all the way through, and then comes out at the intersection of Butler and Fourth. This kind of green and blue space through the middle is the Rio to Flag through Little America. This line in kind of a light brown, yellowish is the existing Arizona Trail through that part of town. So when the road goes through, our thought is to realign the Arizona Trail over to the Rio to Flag and keep it out of the way of that road, future roads, as well as development that is going to take place where the alignment is now. Having it adjacent to the Rio to Flag gives us a little bit better protection in the future that there'll be some greenway associated with it because the Rio won't be developed. At least with subdivisions, it could be a golf course theoretically, but that's a slim chance. And you can see these orange squares where it goes across JWP. This actually represents a couple of different alignment options, but the orange squares represent underpasses. So the trail would go underneath JWP. It would be in conjunction with a wildlife underpass because what we use for a trail greenway could also be a wildlife corridor. And lots of wildlife likes to get to the Rio to Flag because it typically has water, browse, and other things that big game are looking for. So the connections are important for a couple of reasons in this area. One is that this is the Arizona Trail. So this is part of a continuous 800-mile trail from Mexico to Utah, and we don't want it to break here over the course of 800 miles. Second, we need to provide trail access for all these future neighborhoods. There'll be people living there, they'll want to go places and not have to drive, so we want that trail connection. And then three, for all the existing neighborhoods, this is kind of the main way out to the forest. And there's ways to do it now, but almost all of them cross private property. Like there are very few formal trail connections from neighborhoods in that part of Flagstaff out to the forest. And so this helps us formalize those connections, not only through the physical trail, but also through having those perpetual property rights to maintain that access. The other purple lines, so the main one we're working with is Arizona Trail, but the other purple lines are planned trails that were part of the Foots Master Plan. Because of the realignment of JWP and some changes in development patterns, we're kind of having to shift and adjust them as we learn new things about how things might develop. So we're kind of monitoring that as it moves along and making sure that our trails, at least the concept of the connection, stays intact and makes the connections and serves the areas that we want it to. I'll point out one more thing. This bigger road here on the kind of to the southwest, that's the realignment of Lone Tree Road. So it just shows a kind of ending here, but if we were to follow that to the northwest, it would tie into existing Lone Tree Road.
Excuse me.
Any other comments related to this project?
It's a lot,
Yeah, there's a lot, I know, just
a lot of moving pieces with this one at the moment.
Excuse me.
That's,
Thanks.
Martin, I think you have control. But next project, the Rio de Flag flood control. This project has a budget of $122 million and construction is expected between 2025 and 2030. The project buries the Rio de Flag in multiple locations to mitigate and manage flooding in heavily impacted areas, especially through the core of the city. The project will also work to extend the Karen Cooper Trail past City Hall to Phoenix and pave it as you head north towards Benito. Yeah, a couple of interesting components of this project with related to burying the Rio. It'll, as far as I understand it, it largely follows its current alignment, but they will dig up the existing Rio and put a big culvert box underneath with a closed cap. And so that is what will hold, the big flooding events. However, they're still going to maintain I guess you call it a spillway, where there will still be, you can still see water when the Rio is flowing, but it's much more managed to maintain some of the character that it adds to the city. Do you guys have any other comments related to that? About it? Yeah.
hopefully make that culvert big enough,
Yeah.
They're the engineers, they're sharpening their pencil.
yeah.
I hate to be
Yeah, yeah. The benefit for the Karen Cooper Trail, like you can think about how it goes through the town site neighborhood now. There's a couple places where it really is adjacent on top of the Rio, and that I'm thinking that section between Cherry and Sid Graves, which routinely gets washed out really pretty much every year when the monsoons come. So that burying the Rio and creating a smaller channel on top for the small flows gives us more space for where the foot trail goes on top. So it really creates kind of a consistent greenway through that part of town.
Any other questions related to this one? Right. Last one on our list for this agenda item, the Beulah University Roundabout. This project has a budget of $24.3 million and construction has been expected, FY 23 to 25. I'm sure we've all seen this ongoing work or been impacted by it.
That's there.
Yeah. Good.
The project provides separated bike lanes along the east and west side of Beulah, which you can see through this, how Beulah has been extended from its, I guess towards the north to reach this intersection. So separated bike and pedways on both sides and raised pedestrian crossings at each leg of the intersection. And also of note is the pedestrian underpass of Milton Road, which is aligned to right around this area, if you can see my cursor.
Halfway in.
Yes, it is halfway.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going.
Yeah, when they.
Don't turn it back now.
I hope not, yeah.
Once you get past halfway.
They're like, yeah, you gotta finish it now.
I have a question. What, I know that current university, not new university, what's gonna happen, eastbound? Like, is it gonna be a one-way from Milton west am I getting my bounds right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Are they gonna allow, let me say this, are they gonna allow left turns at Milton? There we go.
Like if you're heading north on Milton, can you make a left across the?
No, if you're headed toward Milton on current university,
Sure.
are you gonna be able to take a left onto Milton?
That's a good question. And
That's my question.
What's right there? Yeah.
so I believe that old university segment is being renamed Fresquez. Does that sound right, Martin?
Mhm.
Fresquez Ave Street. I'm not sure which one. I'm not sure if you'll be able, if you'll be permitted to make a left off onto Milton off of that street. Yeah, I don't really have any details
Okay.
on that.
No worries, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Cause I know that's a.
Yeah.
People wait a long time and get impatient and do dumb things in cars.
It is true.
Sorry.
I think, I'm not sure either if it's gonna be closed, but I think it's a matter of convenience. If you wanted to go northbound on Milton, you would stay on University through the roundabout and then
Yeah.
turn at the light.
Yeah.
Make a left at the light.
So people might find it easier to go and use the green phase of the left turn at the roundabout to get onto Milton instead of, maybe they'll try it once or twice, even if it is permitted, but then realize, oh, it's actually easier if I just use the roundabout
Okay.
and make the left turn with
Right.
the
Okay.
traffic signal.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No, please.
That's most of them already, right? Coming out of Wendy's or whatever, and they get them that, and then they say, oops. Yeah.
Right. Any other comments related to this? That's the end of that agenda item.
I think it's been I know we've talked about these projects kind of piecemeal over time, but we thought it was a good opportunity or a good time to kind of bring them back and let you know what the status is, and then kind of just a refresher or an update on what pedestrian and bicycle facility we're planning as part of it.
If you had to bet when that JWP to Fourth would be done, what year are we looking at? 2030?
Let's assume they start construction next year, probably the year after that, the year after the year after that. So what's next year is 25, so 27, summer of 27. Optimistically.
Development's moving in that area aside from the Little America.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Those guys will drive it faster than the city can probably. You look what they're doing over there by Fourth, there's all new roads put in, you're like, oh, look at that. I'm sure they help pay for that. Cause only one side's developed, you'll see the developed side,
There is
they have all the bike and
right.
stuff, the other side's just forest. They're like, yeah, I'm paying just this side, that's good.
Okay, we can move on to the next agenda item, which is a similar update of grant projects, and this is also Chris.
All right, thank you, Martin. Yep, so we'll just run through a few ongoing grant projects and any, status updates that we may have on them. Martin, this one's you. Feel free.
This one may sound familiar. First Mile, Last Mile was a $5.4 million federal grant, 1.8 local for 7.2 for sidewalks, enhanced crossings, and bikeways that support transit. So we used a combination of priorities from the ATMP, along with consultation with Mountain Line about which of our priorities they felt was most useful for getting people to transit. So we are currently in 60%. In fact, just before this meeting, we had a long meeting going through some of the bikeways. There's a lot of different projects, so the review is taking a little bit of time, but we are trying to get to a point where we'll have some under construction, next summer. We're doing it, the job delivery method is called construction manager at risk. So we've already bid the project to a contractor and they're part of the design team, so they can offer their insights into how things might be more efficiently constructed as part of design. So we don't have to bid it again. As soon as we're ready, they'll give us a price and then we'll move forward. Some of the, we had a long list of projects to begin with. Not all of them survived. Some of them wouldn't fit within the right of way. There were other issues with constructability. So we're kind of winnowing down the list of projects, but I think before too long, we may have a map that we can share with you to show where some of these projects are located. I think there's a couple of maps that go with this. So this is our original list. So not all of these have survived. On this map, red is the new sidewalks. Blue would be where crossings are located. And we probably should have updated this because you'll look at this and go, oh, that's so cool. You're building that sidewalk. So it fell off, like the one on Fort Valley. We're pursuing that as a project, but it won't be built as part of this. On the other hand, the two blue dots, including the one at Forest and Fort Valley, are still being worked on, so that we're hoping to have a beacon crossing at Forest and Fort Valley, which has been kind of a long-standing need in the community for a better crossing there.
Yeah.
What about the one?
No one ever disagrees with that one.
I was like, I just looked at that the other day in the morning. I was like, my
What
God.
about the Lake Mary one? The sidewalk.
Yes, that one's still in. Yep,
Yes.
yep. So that connects, that little tail at the end of it is Anita. And then that sidewalk connects all the way down to the existing sidewalk. So sidewalk will be continuous from Anita to JWP.
That's good. That's really good.
And two potential crossings, which are where transit stops are located, not surprisingly.
There'll be another crossing. First transit stop on Lake Mary is like right across from the gas station there.
Yes,
So there'll be a crossing there.
yes.
Yes. That is excellent.
A few other maps that go with this as well, maybe just one, but maybe another.
This is the bikeways. We have divided into different categories. All the bikeway projects are striping. The main categories are, in some cases, we're adding a buffer to where there's existing bike lane. On some of the major routes. In some cases, we're adding a bike lane where it's missing. And then a lot of the little ones that are shown in green are where bike lanes are discontinuous at the intersection. And so we're trying to add some level of accommodation to get bikes up to the intersection and then to pick up again right after the intersection, instead of stopping short and then starting some distance after.
The buffered bike lane on Lake Mary. Crossing. Okay, I see it. That's great because I get cut off there all the time at that intersection.
Which at JWP.
Yeah, or, well, actually at Beulah. So when I'm coming down Lake Mary to make that right turn, people just cut right over into the bike lane and just cut me off. I mean, I've had people hit my front tire.
Well, like when you're making it right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. That's a tricky spot right
It's
there.
terrible.
Sure.
That's where we had that fatality in the spring on the scooter in the walkway on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
It's bad.
This directing may not be fixing it as much as,
You don't have a lot of room there.
yeah. I mean, really, if you see what a lot of bicyclists do to make that right turn.
Jump on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a trail, like up on that little embankment above the sidewalk.
Yeah.
that
People.
People, and if you look, it actually continues through the underpass, side of the concrete embankment.
Oh, yeah.
People just, yeah, It's not so steep that you can't ride on it. So almost the way to get bikes around that corner is to get them off the road, like to widen that sidewalk, for example, but go around.
Yeah, and there are a lot of pedestrians on that sidewalk, and so when you're biking, all the pedestrians are listening to their headphones. And you're ringing your bell and they're not moving, and you have to jump off the sidewalk onto the dirt area and then hope you can jump back up again.
It's a shame we just endured like 6 months of construction at that intersection
I know.
and ended up with no additional ped or bike infrastructure.
There's a new hotel.
Yeah, there's a new hotel.
It's a sewer line. that
Yeah,
goes
sewer
right across
line.
it. That's exciting. I live on
Infrastructure's
University
good.
Heights North. Yeah,
A nightmare.
still at the top.
Still is, yeah.
The other one that I think that is maybe worth pointing out that I think is kind of interesting, is Solier could be a buffered bike lane. If you go back to the crossings, we show enhanced crossings. At every place there is a transit stop.
I was wondering about what those were connecting to. There's like 3 or 4 of them along Sylvia.
Yeah, it's not to give access to the interstate.
No, it seems like there's a field there. Maybe there's some wildflowers.
So each one of those is a transit stop, and really like in this case, the enhanced crossing would just be an island in the middle. There's room for that. Solier has a 2-way left turn lane that's pretty continuous. And it's a useful bike route, which is why we kind of identified it for potential buffered bike lanes. It also is a really fast street, and we're hoping that some of the islands and narrowing the feel of it through a buffered bike lane will help slow speeds.
I know someone who ruled out that section of town entirely for moving there because it was just so miserable to try to get back and forth to on a bike. So just, it'd be nice to have that place be open to bike commuting without, for normal people, not for the super commuters.
I think this one will be kind of interesting, and like how much it moves in needles for bicycle comfort and accommodation, because that's like not one of our typical, what you think of as the main bikeways in town, but it could be really important for everybody who lives in that area. And like further out, kind of at the north end of the neighborhood, there's a lot of apartments. There's a lot of people. Yeah.
Cause I ride out that way, but I have to go through where you're gonna build those roads, just cobble together trails, private property. It's night, you get lost. So yeah, it's not very.
Gas stations, detention basin.
Somewhere out there, yeah. So that would be nice.
It'd be so nice if we could get the 2-way traffic on the side. Because the one side of the street, if you're heading east or northeast, you have to cross all the driveways. Whereas if you're heading on the other side, it's so beautiful because it's a straight stretch without any driveways. So,
And as a cyclist
yeah,
coming through.
yeah, just that, if we had a 2-way cycle lane all on that side, so it wasn't like on Fort Valley Road where every time there's a street crossing, it's kind of miserable. It's hard for the cars and hard for the cyclists. So.
Okay, proceed.
All right, moving along, the Safe Routes to School Butler Avenue Complete Streets Conversion Project, one we've talked about many times before. In FY '23, the city of Flagstaff was awarded $9.6 million from the Federal Highways Association to reconstruct Butler Avenue with complete streets design features. This includes separated bike lanes along the north, south, east, west, however you want to say it, both sides of Butler Avenue, from Milton Road to Sawmill. It will also construct 3 protected intersections along the way, one at Beaver Street, one at San Francisco, and one at Sawmill. You can also see in this graphic how it interacts with the Lone Tree Overpass project, because that will be a protected intersection as well. And additionally, the project will enhance the existing RFB crossing at Humphreys Street and Butler. As it stands now, the beacon lights are on the left and right sides of the road, but through the enhancements, It will install a mast arm so that the lights actually flash up directly over the tops of the roads. And related, it will put another enhanced crossing, RFB crossing, or something similar, an enhanced crossing at O'Leary Street and Butler Avenue. So that's kind of a rough spot to get across Butler as it stands, and people certainly try. So that'll be a good one. In other news related to this, so the $9.6 million that the city was awarded covered 80% of the estimate of the project, and the city was on the hook to cover the remaining 20% match at $2.4 million. Within the last couple of months, the city applied to a state funding pool administered by ADOT called the Arizona Smart Fund. And ultimately, the purpose of that money is to help jurisdictions get their grant projects off the ground by providing the local match side of things. The city applied for $2.4 million, and we found out last month that it was awarded. Yeah, so that's very exciting, as it was estimated.
That's pretty good. Taxpayer.
No, it's very good. It frees up.
These are your taxes.
Yeah, it's the federal tax.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It frees up $2.4 million that the city had committed to this project to cover overages that may be associated with it, or, to put back into other projects around the city. Very exciting. Any further discussion related to this one? All right. Oh. Yeah, just a cross section of what will be typical throughout that project area. You can see separated bike paths, parkway space in between the roadway and the bike paths. And what is subject to change depending on right-of-way constraints with this design is the parkway. That will be what gets eaten up if, this is right-of-way 100 feet left to right, but there's some areas where it's a bit more constrained and you may have to surrender the parkway.
Now, the travel lanes, are they currently at 11 and 11 and a half, or are they gonna get more narrow?
It's a good question. Martin,
I think that's pretty close to what they are now.
They seem pretty narrow now.
Yeah.
That really works to slow people down, I think,
Yeah,
at least me.
I think they were, it varied depending on where you were, but they were as much as 12 through some sections, and with the original pilot barrier project, they got narrowed a little bit. And so generally what's there now will match what
Okay.
will be there.
Thanks.
Yeah, and the extension of the curb, which, you can imagine what is an on-street bike lane now, will be, the edge of curb. So that it will work to make drivers feel a bit more constrained, and is a geometric change that could help slow people who are driving.
Yeah, they don't see that open space.
Yeah. We all set here? Right. Next, the Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program. That's the name of the grant. The project is the Santa Fe Milton Foots Bikeway. This was a fairly recent topic. The PAC offered a letter of support for this grant application for $509,000. It would work to create concept level plans for 3 high priority projects that are identified in the ATMP. Those projects are the Santa Fe Foots Trail Extension, which is this western leg here that extends to the West Flagstaff neighborhoods. In this map, the green is the existing Foots network, and then this, the gold is this 3-legged project that would work to fill a missing puzzle piece of the active transportation network. So ultimately, the Santa Fe Foots Trail to the west, the Milton Bikeway, which would extend down to the south, and then the Milton Road Ped Bike Bridge, which would span the 2 bikeways in question from the Santa Fe the eastern end of the Santa Fe Foots Trail across to the Milton Bikeway, across Milton Road, somewhat near like the existing Jack in the Box to NAU campus on the eastern side of Milton. Updates related to this grant, it was submitted, that was back in July. Hopefully we will hear back sometime, somewhat timely. I'm anxious for this one. I had a lot of skin in this game. Yeah, hopefully by November or December, we'll be likely to hear back on this one. Good. All right. And then a few others. The SS4A Safe Streets Master Plan. This was an application put out earlier this year. Metro Plan, the city's MPO, led the effort on the application portion of this. Ultimately, the city had approximately $500,000 to $600,000 budgeted to create its transportation master plan, and to capitalize on available federal funding through this Safe Streets for All program. Metro Plan suggested that we work together to leverage that $500,000 into more money. So we put out a $2.4 million grant application, and that was awarded. And this plan will, ultimately work is going to get underway on it soon. We're expecting to reach a grant agreement sometime in November. And I assume that it'll be a topic that comes back to PAC many times before it's done. Otherwise, the Safe Streets for All amendment to the ATMP concept planning project, that was the most recent grant application that we submitted. PAC also provided a letter of support for this one, so we've discussed it recently. This would provide the city with a $1.7 million grant award, and it would allow us to basically get a contractor or get a consultant on board to bring a slew of our high priority ATMP projects to 15% design, or roughly, to develop concept plans. And ultimately the project would create a new section of the ATMP where these concept plans would live. And it's a really good way for us to get some of these projects like officially off the ground and get some key information about their feasibility, their costs, and we can consider how to either pursue them through federal funding beyond that point, or pursue them internally.
This is a program that has more funds available than applications generally. So there's
Sounds positive.
yeah.
This year, there was $1.2 billion available for supplemental planning projects through this program. So this is where the Safe Streets Master Plan also came from. There was 3 rounds of funding that you could apply to for this year. The Safe Streets Master Plan was awarded after the first round of funding, and we applied to the 3rd and final round of funding about, 2 weeks ago now, and anticipated to hear back in November. So that'll be a good one because we have X amount of dollars that we can work with, and we'll need to do some project selection to see which ones we want to pursue. It also overlaps with the 3 ATIP projects, the one that Santa Fe Foots, Milton Bikeway, Milton Ped Bike Bridge. We budgeted for those projects in this one, but best case scenario, they're both awarded and we're able to get design plans for even more projects. And for this last one, I will pass it off to Carlton, who's the expert on it.
Yeah, let's move. This one, Safe Routes to School, this is a grant that Metro Plan already got. We have a small match in it and get to reap all the benefits. 5.7% match on the 500,000 within there. So we have a couple of suites of projects within it, all for safer routes to school. Mountain Line wants to look at getting a left out near basis, so they don't have to reroute their buses a bunch. That's their kind of targeted project area for that one. And then we are gonna help manage the design for safer access around Knowles, Butler, Fox Glen stuff, potential crossing sidewalk improvements. And then also safer access around all the schools in the northeast part of town, that cluster, so all the way from Coconino High School over to Mount Elvin Middle School and all that, so we can look at, this one might have some pretty big thoughts and ideas. I'm hoping we can think big on it in terms of all kinds of stuff on Cedar and Fourth that would help get people up and down and across all that. And that one, it's real early. So request for qualifications for consultants to help design it is going out this week. Great.
Just a couple of closing thoughts. I mean, the amount of money available in federal grants for ped and bike projects is unprecedented.
Yeah.
It's really pretty remarkable, and we want to take advantage of as long as it lasts. I think you can kind of tell from seeing the grant projects, it is relatively straightforward to get money for planning or pre-design or even design. It's been more challenging to get money for actual construction. We are hoping that some of the grants that we're getting and some of the work that we're doing on pre-design and concept planning will set us up to get to apply for construction funding. But the construction funding becomes increasingly competitive because they're much higher dollar amounts, and there's just more people or communities that are going to be asking for construction money. And we just frankly don't know how long it lasts. So, I mean, it's all part of the surface transportation bill, bipartisan infrastructure law. I think that bill lasts for a few years. Typically in the past, when it expires, they'll go through cycles of just renewing it as is before they redo the whole thing. The other thing that might change is there's really the emphasis on transportation projects is ped and bike and equity. And so if you can meet those kind of two criteria with your projects, you're in the game. Of course, we don't know how long that administrations change, priorities change. Things don't stay the same, basically. So we just want to be able to take advantage while we can, not knowing what will happen in the future. But so far, we've done well. I mean, we just never had these opportunities
From
before.
where I'm sitting, it's like, I mean, turn around, it's another grant we're getting, so that's great.
We're just gonna have you write a blanket letter of support.
Everything.
Whatever grant happens to come along for whatever project. Okay, moving on. The last in our triumvirate of updates is on safety studies. And here I'll turn it over to Chris again, but the theme here is I think there's a handful of things going on at different levels. The city, the region through Metro Plan and at the state. And you'll be involved at various levels in all of these processes, and we're doing this to kind of give you some context to see how all these things fit together and what their intent is.
Great.
Are you gonna do this one?
I mean, sure, we don't really have too much prepared. I think it's really more to put these plans on your guys' radar. The links to all of these are available through the agenda as well. And different plans are at different stages, like along the way as far as public input goes. I believe that this top one, the ADOT Active Transportation Safety Action Plan, if you're interested in participating, now is the time. It's currently they have their draft phase or their draft published, and they're looking for public participation. It may be somewhat limited the amount of time that you have to do that, but it's certainly worth taking a look. ADOT has launched a very widespread effort to get input from all around the state. I was able to attend a workshop that they hosted in Flagstaff. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on through that one. I guess one that I'm not as connected to is the ADOT Strategic Highway Safety Plan. I know that the AT-SAP is a supplement to the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, so those two kind of go together. Beyond that is the Metro Plan VRUSP. Carlton and I got the lowdown on this one today, which was, so Metro Plan is up to some pretty exciting stuff. This project will, okay, so ultimately they are, I guess one of the big takeaways from my meeting today was they're focusing on vulnerable users and conflicts that they experience, especially in areas that experience disadvantage around the city, to a very fine-tuned level. It's in its early stages, but definitely keep your eye on it. There may be opportunity to participate. Especially, for a group of people who are local to Flagstaff and represent different areas of the city, so.
Because when they say they're kind of focusing on disadvantaged groups, does that include like specific neighborhoods?
Yes,
Talk about that.
it goes to the census block level, which I thought was really good. That's more similar to a neighborhood. I get frustrated working on grants. Well, one of the things I become frustrated with when working on grant applications is they provide a lot of federal tools to help you identify equity or areas of where equity considerations are necessary, like mapping tools, interactive mapping tools, but they go down to the census tract level, which is a finer or a larger scale than what really Flagstaff needs, because only a handful of areas pop up in Flagstaff when you are looking at disadvantaged census tracts, but it really goes deeper than that. La Plaza Vieja doesn't have enough influence on its census tract to trigger it to be flagged when you look at it on a lot of federal tools. So I think that this VRUSP that through Metro Plan is going to be, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff that comes out of it, especially as we continue to apply for grants that have an equity where equity is at the center. It'll be a great reference point for us. Beyond that is the Metro Plan Regional Transportation Safety Plan. This is also available online, and I encourage you to take a look at what they've come up with. And beyond that is the City of Flagstaff Route 66 Highway 89 Road Safety Audit, or RSA. We've talked about this one previously. The City of Flagstaff late last year applied to ADOT's road safety assessment program to have closer, for their safety group to take a close look at considerations along Route 66 and Highway 89 from Steve's Boulevard to Marketplace Drive. There's a lot of traffic issues that go on in that area, crashes between vehicles, and especially pedestrian related incidents. So that came up in the city's high injury network update last year, and the Transportation Commission requested that we take a deeper dive into that, and this program allows us to do that. It was awarded. We've met with ADOT, and there's a consultant on board to conduct the study. We've had our kickoff meeting, and now the ball's kind of in their court, but we've worked through some of the early details.
One ancillary note to that, the city's applied for highway safety improvement program funding for that, to improve lighting along that corridor, to make sure that street lighting is consistent along that area. And do you know, I don't even know, have we just applied for that? But we haven't.
Yeah, I think it's still hanging in the balance. Yeah.
I think this was a corridor. I think if we looked at the crash maps for pedestrians, where there was a disproportionate number of pedestrian fatalities along that corridor. So hopefully if there are consistent causes for those crashes, the RSA will tease that out, and then we're in a position where they can be addressed, either through infrastructure changes, like the lighting, for example, would probably help, or other, non-infrastructure, like programmatic enforcement, for example, maybe, if that's teased out as one of the issues, that could be potentially one of the solutions. But at least the first step is to find out, do we get a better idea of what's happening out there, that why there are these crashes.
That wraps up item number 3.
Chris, thank you. We'll go on to item number 4, which is PAC appointments and reappointments. So I believe it was last week, the Transportation Commission met and applied 2 new members to fill the 2 existing vacancies. One of them was Sean. The other one is Melanie, who will join us at our November meeting. She has pre-existing conflicts for both September and October, unfortunately. We have one more pending vacancy, which is Jody's position. She is terming out. We use an ongoing tense for that. You haven't termed out, you're terming out.
It's a very long term.
It's a process, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a.
But you're out of here months ago.
We have 2 applications for, still on file. I haven't looked lately, but the clerk usually sends a note if we get new applications. So we, if I could suggest, if we wait till the next meeting to review those applications, for appointment. In the meantime, Jody, you'll stay with us.
I will. I'm searching for my new committee to try to sit it on and make miserable, so
Oh, good.
we'll see how it goes.
So that will be, we'll continue this discussion at the October meeting. That's the conclusion of old business. There is no new business, so we will skip to reports. And I'll just give you a quick update on a few of these things. I think the urban trails and bikeways map actually was from, thanks, John. Was from the last meeting, and we have new copies of it. I think we handed them out along with the hats. Engineering standards revisions. You'll recall we made some of the simplest revisions back in April. We're working on the second set. A presentation was made to council on Tuesday about our efforts to implement the ATMP, the carbon neutrality plan, and the 10-year housing plan, and and all the combined efforts at both implementing the goals and policies of those documents, as well as kind of coordinating them across all 3 areas of interest. Engineering standards revisions was one of the things that was mentioned. We're trying to get the second round to council by next year. And then we will either at that point or sometime in advance of that begin the third round. I think at one point I might have shared the spreadsheet of all the changes from a while ago. At some point we'll look at that again. Carlton is actually working on some of the changes. The second round are more complicated than the first round in that they require either more information to be collected or more discussion at staff level or with commission. So there may be a couple items that you will see before the final version of the revision is ready for the public. So stay tuned. C is the Flagstaff Regional Plan. I think it's been a couple of months since we had a presentation. They are wrapping up a draft and have asked to be on our agenda sometime in October, November, December timeframe. So we haven't worked out exactly when that will be, but the comprehensive planning staff from the city will come back to PAC and BAC to make a presentation and get your input on the first draft of the regional plan. E is a West Route 66 operational assessment. This is an effort that's being led by MetroPlan, and they're essentially looking at West Route 66 and what a future section might be for that. The part of it really from Woodlands Village out to Woody Mountain, and even to Flag Ranch. So the first part is a lot of data collection kind of at staff level, but there may be, again, a presentation in your future or more information about that assessment. E, over the last couple of years, we've been putting money aside to repair asphalt foots. City has about 8 miles of asphalt trails that we manage. None of them are in great condition. Some of them are in
I
really,
know some that are in bad condition.
are in bad condition. They're really hard for bike.
Yeah. Great for a mountain bike, but
So we've, we're asking for, a plan, like how to fix these things and a couple different options for repairing them. With the money that we have, we've engaged a consultant to do that for us. We've done an inventory of the condition of all of them. So we had an intern do each crack and gave it.
perfect intern job.
She enjoyed it. I think she enjoyed it, more than she would have if we had asked her to do this in December, for example. But, and she gave them a condition. So it's 1 through 4, 4 being the worst. And the treatment will be different depending on what the condition is. So like a 4 is a significant crack that, the underlying base course has been compromised. So if we fix that crack without fixing the base,
Yeah.
it'll just reappear. It won't be long. It'll be a couple of years. So those, we really have to take the whole trail out for a section and replace it, basically. So we're working through that. We think that we'll be able to do some of the work next year, and how much work we do will just depend on what it costs and what funding we have available. And we want to kind of see, for different levels of repair, how many years we'll get out of that, like how long that will last. We're asking them to look at kind of long-term, like what are good maintenance practices to keep, once we fix the trails, to kind of keep them optimal for longer after that. Every 6 years for the past 18 years, so there's been 3 previous, Metroplan has done the trip diary survey. We talked about this before. Is it a different, the last one we did was in 2018.
I remember doing them. Where I worked before,
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to do them every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it mandated?
I think it was. It was air quality regulation.
That makes sense.
So they would entice people to take buses. It's a big thing.
So essentially, it's a random sample survey, and we ask people to track their how they travel for a day.
Right.
And then we collect all that information. It tells us what percentage of trips are made by walking, what percentage of trips are made by biking, how long are trips that are made by walking, and there's all kinds of data that is generated from that. So that they've hired a contractor. I think that's going to happen in the fall. Some of you, if you're randomly sampled, you may get a packet in the mail that asks you to track your travel for a day. A, it's legit. B, I would encourage you to do it.
Please. Hopefully it's not in December.
Yeah,
January. Skis count, though, right? So.
yeah.
I think they try to do it in October.
Okay, no, that's.
Yeah.
We did ours in October.
Yeah. October, you have to be kind of careful with the weather, because you don't want the weather to really influence one way or another. G is Fremont Boulevard. We made a presentation to the Transportation Commission last week. And Kim, do you want to, since you're here, you want to give like a quick?
I don't have any slides. My computer's frozen, so otherwise I could have given some slides, but
So I think the interesting thing is like the results, the survey and the speed study afterwards. So if you want to.
yeah, so
Summarize those.
yeah, so speeds, the city did the after the installation speed study, and speeds did decrease. We also put out a survey to the community and just what was the perceived safety. And everyone felt the road was safer, that drivers were having better behavior and slower, that the crossing was easier to navigate. So good, and that they would like to keep the artwork and possibly see other projects around town. that was the consensus. Did I miss anything?
I think that was good.
So, yeah, all in all, good job, good project.
It was, yeah, I live out there, so I appreciate it. It's really nice.
I'm glad it's held up so well,
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
has.
I'm impressed.
yeah, to the sun and to drivers who don't like candlesticks.
Right.
We see them as targets.
Is there any thought to extending it back into the neighborhood along Fremont? Because that's a short section.
As far as extending the art project back, not necessarily. I think that this art project is pretty contained as far as an art installation is going to go in Fremont, unless there's opportunity to pursue another project. But the city has come up with a new striping plan that does extend beyond
The park.
yeah, and through the long corridor that, I'm not sure I forget the name of the road that it ends at, but it's a significant way.
Peak view.
There you go.
Yeah, Peak View.
Yep.
Because it's 4 lanes from Peak View to this new project.
Yeah.
And then it narrows, right?
Yes.
To 2 lanes at a certain point.
So you can think of it as there maybe being 3 possibilities for what happens to it. One is the existing project stays as is. We see how long it lasts. 2 is we implement the new striping plan, but that really means the old project goes away and a new plan is put in place that narrows it to 2 lanes and adds buffers to the bike lanes, et cetera, and would go all the way from Peak View to Fort Valley. And then 3 is kind of a hybrid in that it would take the existing, what's there existing, and try to extend it, maybe not through art, but through other, restriping or lane configurations. Further back to Peak View, and then also address the section that's still 2 lanes from kind of from Fala back to, I think almost the park is still,
Yeah.
it's 1 lane on one side, 2 lanes on the other side. So those are the 3 possibilities, and we're kind of working through what that means and what they would cost, our opportunities are for doing it.
May I ask a quick question just before we conclude here? I don't know if this is appropriate time or not.
Absolutely.
Sure. So I'm seeing 6 major road projects that are going to be either currently underway or will be underway within the next 5 years. And inevitably, whenever you do these projects and start redirecting traffic, you have either unforeseen or unintended traffic issues that arise. Probably the most common complaint that we get is for drivers that are just going way too fast through some of these construction zones and causing hazards for the workers that are there. A prime example is Milton University, which is currently under construction now. Within a short amount of time after they started closing that intersection down and rerouting traffic with those cones, multiple calls from city management, from community members, for officer presence in those areas because drivers are just flying through these places. My main question is, with all these other projects that are going to be happening, has any of the budgeting been set aside for off-duty traffic mitigation details for officers to be in those areas? Because it didn't appear to me that any consideration was given for that for this Milton University construction. However, we had lots and lots of requests to spend as much time as possible there. And unfortunately, we just don't have the staffing and the ability to devote officers to those areas for any significant amounts of time. And the only real viable option is to have an off-duty detail where officers can come when they're not working the normal hours to spend time in those areas. I'm curious to know if any of that has been considered in the budgeting. And if it has not, I would highly recommend that be sought in some way, either through grants, additional funding, or be included in any contracts that are currently being negotiated.
The short answer is I don't know. I know that's a big concern, like how to coordinate all these projects with each other. And then even like, you know, one given project is gonna could have a significant impact on, you know, traffic. What we can do is, I think Trevor Henry would be the person to talk to, because he's the capital project engineers for the city. And it's gonna be his job to coordinate the traffic control for all these as they take place. And I can, tomorrow when I'm back in, I can send you his contact information.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
And that might be, I'm not sure how much they do that. They've done that in the past, but that might be like a very useful tool for them to include when they consider traffic control and.
Yeah,
ADOT does it. I've seen.
Yeah, every major road project that ADOT does, there's always officers posted in those areas, and they're always paid for with off-duty.
Right,
I
I
did
noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may be overkill, but maybe some hybrid or something that just gets somebody who could be dedicated to roving or something.
I mean, I would think they would be clever enough to know when, like, the really critical times are you know, if they can't do it for the whole time, at least
Yeah.
plan for those critical times.
At least high traffic volume times, especially during the day.
Very good.
Often in the design stages, there's one line item that's like traffic
Yeah.
control and it's a percentage. It's just kind of an arbitrary percentage.
And it never
falls
goes
to
to
the costs.
Sure. Or when it goes somewhere else.
So we could adjust that percentage really easily on paper. If that needs to happen.
Or look at how ADOT budgets there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Enforcement.
I would have somebody talk with ADOT and say, hey, how do you guys coordinate this with your local law enforcement agencies? And it wouldn't just have to be Flagstaff PD. It could be Sheriff's Department, DPS, Police Department, our police department. But that would hopefully alleviate a lot of calls for service and a lot of requests for us, city police department, to respond to these areas consistently.
The next three reports are, Safe Routes to School, Safe People Campaign, and Flagstaff Walks. It occurs to me, those are all you.
What was the first one?
Safe Routes to School. And I think we just put it on here because I know these are coming up, so just to give them kind of an idea of what's
Absolutely.
coming in the future, what's
Yeah.
their plan.
So MetroPlan has hired a Safe Routes to School coordinator. And we are currently out at all of the schools, working on observations of kids walking and biking, how many are being dropped off by their parents, where they're being dropped off, flow, driver behavior, all that kind of stuff. At school start and dismissal, we're trying to get it all done before the weather turns. So, so we're currently working on that, and that's kind of the non-infrastructure piece. We also, as you noted, there's an infrastructure piece, which we're working with the city of Flagstaff on that. Let's see, Safer People campaign. We are spending some money from the carbon reduction program. We, meaning MetroPlan, sorry, and me, I guess is what it is. To whenever anyone builds something, no one ever explains it to people how to use it, right? I don't know. This is my pet peeve. Chris has his, I have mine. So anyway, so we are going to have an educational campaign, and it'll probably be social media, flyers, maybe some videos, but we have a lot of new infrastructure coming. We have some new crossings, we have some protected intersections coming. We have some roundabouts, those kinds of things that I think it's really good idea to inform drivers, because sometimes it's not quite as intuitive as everyone thinks, And so we hired a company, and we're just gonna start kind of putting together a list of what we want to. We can't hit every safety item humanly possible, but we're trying to get a list together of maybe some new infrastructure, some existing, and maybe some safety concerns like distracted driving, speeding in neighborhoods, you know, those kinds of, I don't know.
Motorized
topics.
scooters,
Huh?
motorized scooters,
Um,
they're bad.
yeah, so once I get that list together, we'll probably end up coming to Bike Ped. I think I would love to talk to you, because I think, police also, you have a great knowledge of things people don't understand to do. So, and we're just gonna be kind of going around figuring it out, refining a list. And then the last piece is Flagstaff Walks, which is right around the corner. So this was a passion of Jack Welch, and I used to be on pedestrian advisory with him. So I'm trying to bring it back because I think it's a great event. It's basically just highlighting walking in Flagstaff in the fall because it's great to live here. And it's going to coincide with a week without driving because I think those two go hand in hand. So I'm working on a bunch of walks and I have a tentative list. It's going to start on Sunday, September 29th. Jack's Walkers, they're called Jaywalkers. And they have a walk in the forest. And we're just going to highlight that walk and invite the public to join. And then, of course, Walk to School Day is on Wednesday, October 2nd. Freaky Foot Tours will be sponsoring 2 walks during that week. One is a mural walk and one is a spooky, it's not a ghost tour, but a spooky tour. So it's all family friendly. I don't have dates yet. We're having some communication issues. And then the last walk, I'm hoping, and I should know fairly soon, is an accessibility walk. And it would be after the Disability Fair, which occurs on Saturday, October 5th at NAU. And the thought is to leave there and sort of maybe do a walkability audit or just talk about accessibility as we walk toward downtown, using some of the existing infrastructure and crossings, maybe end at Heritage Square. I would love everyone to participate in something. That would be great. I have some other ideas happening and I will keep Martin in the loop as soon as I can really firm up some things.
Should we put this on the agenda as a formal item in October?
It's
Or is it?
gonna be mid-week, so it's up to you.
Okay. We'll share information.
Okay, and I'll send it to you and you can send it out to the group maybe via email or something. So everyone, we're gonna try and talk it up social media and get the word out there best we can. But yeah, we'd love to see you at some of the events. So if anyone has any ideas, I'm open to getting something together.
Yeah, just a schedule of events somehow.
I
Would
can
be
do that.
nice.
I can do that. Absolutely.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, moving on to concluding announcements. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 10th. Does anyone else have anything, closing thoughts for the good of the order? Hearing none, hearing no objections, I will adjourn this meeting at 6:08 PM.
What's that? Before I just couldn't.
I have something for you.
Most of that.
Yeah. Right, you like?
Yeah.
I was gonna, but.
Well,
So.
you don't know whether it be.
But I think fail, then we got right to it.
You need to.
It's the same. Each of you.
Yeah, in the middle of the road.
How fast do you think?
If you go.
So. Bring you to zero.
That's what we want.
Maybe.
Chris
Sure
just
feels like
did,
they-
Chris did it too.
I have one guy.
So if,
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Okay.
if it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
I saw it.
You as well. You got hats.
I got one, yeah, thank you.
No, it should bring it to zero because they're
Anyway,
like,
this one guy was coming.
Yeah.
I was on the call. That's getting ready to turn left on to San Francisco.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
If, when you
Guy
register,
coming
we'll
down
get
San
7.
Francisco, like he's going. up
It's
to-
so great. It's not
Yeah.
80, but yeah.
Get a bunch of us.
Hey,
Totally with it.
No,
Thank you,
Right in the
sir.
middle of San Francisco.
I think that was a perfect comment. I think there's a reason for all the ease and things and it needs to be considered. It's 100%.
It pounds like we.
It should just be like this automatic.
And they usually want them anywhere but on call dating. Pounds. What do you think they should?
No, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
I don't even know what the answer is to that. And I think most of us learn determines.
And people.
I mean, the trouble with, like when these things came around,
Just with all of these, especially for all.
there's backlash because,
There's gotta
I mean,
be
think about
something
something
to
like.
make sure there's cops
There's
there.
already
100%.
enough infrastructure. to go on.
It's a great, absolutely, I get it. Because I think it's something that needs to be considered
Subscribe.
when you're doing a budget and asking for money.
Yeah.
It's gnarly, puts them in the
So this-
pocket,
like,
you know?
Yeah, like.
They give a 4-lane road, they two. So that's the state project, just the scooter.
There.
Uh-huh.
bike,
Absolutely, and that'd be an easy IGA to
in
get
that lane.
to pay and all that kind of stuff, so yeah,
But you have a
We
whole
don't
lane.
have any of that in Flagstaff.
be safe,
No, we're not above.
yeah.
I know it's gnarly. I'm not totally.
Ready for tomorrow?
oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm coming from NAU,
I'm popping.
Okay,
so if I'm running a few minutes late, don't be concerned.
okay. Yeah, meeting snuck in immediately before it, so
Right,
that would be fine.
Be safe out there.
I won't. Thank you.
I know you are, but.
me neither,
To
so
have to shift by 5 minutes, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
with me.
just know that I will be there. AmeriCorps is coming. And they're highlighting Metro Plan is one of them, so, hey, yeah,